During the quiet stretch of releases over the summer, I decided to play Persona 3 Reload. I loved Persona 5, I think it's one of the best games I've ever played, so I thought screw it, why not? I love the Persona formula, so I knew I'd probably enjoy the game, but it just surely couldn't live up to the emotional investment I had in Persona 5, right? Oh, how wrong I was. Persona 3 is a game with tedious elements, but that aside, this game is absolutely special. I will remember how this game made me feel forever, and that's because it's a masterpiece. To analyse exactly how Persona 3 managed to break me down emotionally, we're going to break it down into 3 sections. First the story, then the social elements, and then the combat. So let's kick things off. So for a quick overview of the premise, in Persona 3, you play as a high school kid who transfers to a new high school and soon discovers that he has the unique ability to enter the Dark Hour, a hidden time that exists between one day and the next. During this hour, ordinary people are transformed into coffins and the world is overrun by shadows, malevolent creatures that prey on human minds. To combat these shadows, the protagonist joins Seas, a group of other students who also have the power to summon personas, manifestations of their inner selves that can fight the shadows. As the story unfolds, you explore a mysterious tower called Tartarus that appears during the Dark Hour. You soon uncover a conspiracy involving the origins of the Dark Hour, the true nature of shadows, and the role you must play in preventing an impending apocalypse. So, if it wasn't clear already from the summoning of personas consisting of shooting yourself in the head, the inevitability of death is the driving force behind Persona 3 Reload. The game continually asks you to confront the concept of death, both as an abstract idea and a personal reality. The game opens with a cheeky little definition of memento mori, a Latin phrase translated to remember you are mortal, remember you will die. Memento mori is a recurring motif that serves as a constant reminder of mortality. The Dark Hour itself, a hidden, eerie time that only Persona users can experience, acts as a metaphor for the inevitability of death, a time when the world is shrouded in darkness and all are vulnerable to the encroaching shadows. The method by which characters summon their personas is using an evoker that very much resembles a gun. It's most of the most striking visual representations of the death theme. The act of placing a gun to one's head and pulling the trigger in order to summon a persona is a shocking and deliberate choice by the developers, meant to symbolise the confrontation with death and the inner turmoil that each character faces. This mechanic underscores the idea that embracing one's mortality and the fear that comes with it is necessary for personal growth and empowerment. The use of the evoker symbolises a form of transformation, facing the idea of death to unlock a new part of oneself, to gain strength from what might otherwise be paralysing fear. Then we have Nyx, the ultimate manifestation of death, and it's presented as an inevitable force, something that cannot be defeated in a traditional sense, but must be accepted and contained. The protagonist's final act of becoming the Great Seal, sacrificing themselves to prevent Nyx from ending the world, is a powerful narrative conclusion. This act is not just about defeating a final boss, but about accepting the ultimate responsibility and the reality of death. It suggests that the true strength lies in the acceptance of death and the willingness to sacrifice for the greater good. Shinjiro's story arc is one of the most direct explorations of suicide in the game. His guilt over past actions, coupled with his self-destructive tendencies, lead him to a path of seeking atonement through death. His ultimate fate in the game serves as a poignant moment that emphasises the weight of guilt and the tragic consequences of unresolved inner turmoil. His story conveys a message about the destructive nature of carrying such a burden alone, and the potential for redemption if one can find support and forgiveness. Persona 3 emphasises that death is an inevitable part of life. The game does not shy away from this truth. Instead, it forces the player to confront it head on, through the storyline, mechanics and the character arcs. The message here is not to fear death, but to understand and accept it as a natural part of existence. By doing so, the player and the other characters can find meaning and purpose in their lives. Through characters like Shinjiro who struggle with their own darker thoughts, Persona 3 warns of the dangers of isolation and the internalization of pain. The game highlights the importance of reaching out for help, finding strength in others, and not facing one's demons alone. This is a crucial lesson for the player, especially in the context of themes related to suicide, where the game subtly advocates for the idea that support and understanding can be lifelines in times of despair. The protagonist's ultimate decision to sacrifice themselves to become the Great Seal is the culmination of the game's exploration of death and the power of choice. The game conveys that while death is a certainty, the choices we make, how we live, and what we stand for define who we are. This message encourages you to reflect on your own life and the impact of your choices. Each character in Seas has a unique relationship with death. For example, Mitsuru struggles with the loss of her father and her overwhelming responsibilities. Aegis spends the entirety of the game searching for a purpose, for a reason to exist. These personal stories add depth to the central theme, exploring different facets of how people deal with their own mortality. While death is a prominent theme, Persona 3 also asks what it means to live in the face of inevitable death. The game poses existential questions, challenging the characters and you to find meaning in their lives despite knowing that it will one day end. The relationships that you form with the other members of Seas and the various social links are crucial in highlighting the importance of human connections. These relationships give the characters strength to confront the Dark Hour and ultimately face Nyx. This game suggests that the bonds we form with others give our lives meaning and help us endure hardships. And then we have the main antagonists of the game, a group of Persona users called Strega, who intend on embracing and bringing about the destruction of the world. Not cool. Takaya is the leader of Strega. He is charismatic and manipulative, deeply nihilistic, and believes that the end of the world is unavoidable. His philosophy is one of resignation to death, and he uses his power to spread this belief, seeing the Dark Hour and the coming of Nyx as the natural conclusion of life. He's a really compelling villain, always calm, and he tries to convince the group to join him continuously, in quite effective monologues. Chidori is another key member. She's a complex character who initially shares Strega's fatalistic outlook, but undergoes significant development due to a growing relationship with Junpei. The two initially meet without knowing either is a Persona user. She struggles with deep emotional pain and uses her Persona powers in destructive ways. Her interactions with Junpei lead her to question her beliefs, showing the possibility of change and redemption, which contrasts the rest of Strega's unwavering nihilism. Strega, especially through these two characters, represent the temptation to give in to despair and the struggle between accepting or defying one's fate. Their role is crucial in challenging the main character's motivations and beliefs, making them essential to the narrative and thematic depth of Persona 3. Persona 3 is a powerful narrative experience that delves deep into the human condition, using the themes of death, the meaning of life, and the burden of responsibility at its core. The story is a meditation on morality, exploring how the inevitability of death shapes our lives and how we find meaning despite it. The game ultimately suggests that while death is unavoidable, the relationships we form, the responsibilities we accept, and the personal growth we achieve give our lives purpose. This thematic richness, combined with compelling character development and a haunting atmosphere, makes Persona 3 a profound and emotionally resonant experience.
Hi everyone, this is me. Look how cool I am. Just wanted to take a 15-second break from the video to say that if you're enjoying the video, then please consider taking a look at some of the other videos on the channel. If any look interesting to you, check them out. You'll be doing yourself a favour if you really think about it, and then subscribe while you're there. I would love to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I'd really appreciate it if you stuck around as long as you enjoy the content. I even have a playlist on the channel for what I think are some of my best videos, so they're easy viewing. Thanks guys, back to the video.
As I'm sure you're aware, Persona 3 is sort of two games sandwiched into one. There's the combat portion, climbing Tartarus and defeating shadows, and then the life sim stuff, where you're a student, making friends and living your life. It might sound dull on the surface, but it isn't. At times I preferred it because Tartarus is... well, we'll get onto Tartarus later. We mentioned the themes beforehand, and the life simulator aspect underscores these themes by emphasising the importance of living each day meaningfully. The contrast between ordinary life and the life or death struggles in Tartarus highlight the preciousness of everyday moments. Since you only have set slots in which you can do certain activities or talk to certain people, it encourages you to make the most of your time by spending it effectively, perfectly fitting of the game's core philosophy. The social links, which are referred to as confidants in Persona 5 for example, is a key component of the life simulator, allowing you to form and deepen relationships with each character. These relationships are definitely not just optional, they are crucial to understanding the character's backstory, struggles and motivations, as long as giving you the ability to get new skills for your party members and unlock new fusions. This reinforces the idea that human connections provide strength in the face of life's challenges. It gives you a sense of agency over how you spend your limited time, deciding how to balance schoolwork, friendships, part-time jobs, and exploring Tartarus, which mirrors real-life decisions and reinforces the theme of personal growth. The game subtly teaches that the way one chooses to spend their time reflects their values and priorities, and these choices shape who they become. At the end of the day, we really are nothing more than the choices we make day by day. This is a direct reflection of the game's core message. Life is a series of choices, and how we live our daily lives defines us. By managing the protagonist's time, you are encouraged to reflect on your own life and the importance of making meaningful choices. Spend your time in a meaningful way, such as spending 70 hours on a JRPG that's core message is to live life to the fullest. I can't think of a better way to spend my time. The daily routine, which is punctuated by the supernatural occurrences in Tartarus, serves as a metaphor for how the mundane and the extraordinary are intertwined in the human experience. The contrast between the normalcy of the life simulator and the dark, foreboding atmosphere of Tartarus creates a powerful emotional impact. The game becomes more than just a series of battles, it's a narrative about the human condition. By investing in the life simulator aspects, you become more attached to the characters and the story, making the emotional moments of the game resonate more deeply. The life simulator portion is not just a side activity that you rush through to get to the combat. It's a core element that reinforces the game's message. It provides extra depth to the narrative, fosters your attachment to the characters, and reflects the themes of life, death, and the importance of connection. Without it, the game would lose much of its emotional weight and thematic complexity, making it essential to the overall experience and message of the game. And then we have Tartarus, where the combat portion of the game takes place. During the Dark Hour, the school moonlights as a giant structure which floors change each night. It's a metaphor for the cycle of life, death and rebirth. Each floor represents a new challenge and one step closer to understanding the true nature of the Dark Hour. The game suggests that through struggle and facing one's fears, people can transform and grow, much like how these characters evolve through the story. Exploring Tartarus can absolutely be incredibly repetitive, but I do feel that this is actually by design, as it plays a dual role in reinforcing the game's themes whilst also introducing a sense of tedium that, paradoxically, contributes to this message. Here's how this works. The labyrinthine structure represents the subconscious fears and existential dread that the characters face. Each level of Tartarus is one step closer to confronting the ultimate truth of mortality, mirroring the overarching theme of the game. The journey through life is one of constant challenges, culminating in an eventual confrontation with death. The repetitiveness of exploring Tartarus, with seemingly endless floors, there's like 250 something of them, the recurring enemy encounters and the slow progress reflects the often monotonous and grinding nature of life itself. This tedium can be seen as a metaphor for the daily struggles and the repetitive routine that you and I endure on a day-to-day basis. The monotony of the dungeon crawling experience mirrors the daily grind depicted in the life simulator portion, where both aspects of life, though mundane at times, are necessary for growth and progression. Tartarus stands in stark contrast to the ordinary life that you live, where you attend school, build relationships and manage your activities. This duality reinforces the game's exploration of how you balance the extraordinary struggles of life. The tedium of Tartarus heightens the impact of the life simulator, by making you appreciate the normalcy of everyday life in comparison. But then, the combat itself. Oh my god, it is so damn stylish. It's sort as if Rock Paper Scissors were a turn-based JRPG. Each character has one persona other than you. You can wield multiple, and you can also fuse more with the game's fusion system. But we're not going to go into that and derail the whole video. Each persona has a weakness and a strength. For example, Mitsuru excels in dealing out ice damage, but is weak to fire damage. So if she hits an enemy that's weak to ice with an ice attack, they will get knocked down, and Mitsuru will get another turn, which she can either use herself or give to a teammate, and vice versa. If she gets hit with fire damage, the same goes for the enemy. This is where team composition is important. You need to be careful and protect teammates that are weak to certain elements. You can craft armor and accessories that negate this when you get far enough into the game. So if at the end of the game, for example, I equipped an accessory on Mitsuru which applied resistance to fire attacks. You can also just destroy opponents. Once you figure out what each enemy is weak to, you can just decimate enemies with an all-out attack. Once all enemies have been knocked down, you can initiate the all-out attack, which will deal major damage, most of the time ending the fight and giving you a shuffle time, where you get to choose a random reward. Then there's Theurgies, if that's pronounced right, not a clue, which are your ultimates, basically. Each character earns these through different ways. For example, Mitsuru earns her Theurgy by exploiting weaknesses, whilst Yukari earns hers by healing teammates. Some of these Theurgies are game-breaking, especially some of the ones that the main character gets from fusing a certain amount of personas. There's also plenty of boss fights in this game. Tartarus has plenty of mini-bosses every 5 or so floors, and the major bosses through the story see you facing off against each arcana. And they have a lot of gimmicks, and they're just so much fun. I do enjoy the general combat, but the boss fights really take it up a notch. As much as I love this game and its brilliant combat, I hate Tartarus. I mentioned how it fits the theme earlier and all that stuff, and that is true, but it is just so damn repetitive. Over 250 floors of the same exact thing seems like overkill to me, but it's my only minor complaint in a game that does so much other stuff right. Every now and then, you play a game that feels special, that instantly lets you know that you're going to remember it forever. That's how I felt when I played Persona 5 a few years ago, and that same feeling came back when playing Persona 3. I decided to get every single achievement in the game. That took a hell of a lot of planning and was way more effort than it was worth, but that's just how much I loved the game. The thematic resonance this game has is outlandish. Its characters feel real and have plenty of depth to them. The combat is stylish and satisfying. Games like this don't come along often. It feels like less and less these days that a major game comes out with something to say, and I appreciate it whenever that happens. This is of course a remake, but many players, just like me, will be playing this version of the game as their entry point into Persona 3, and they will be broken just the same way I was. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I hope that you did enjoy it. This one was a bit longer, but if you enjoyed it, please leave a like. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. I upload every single week with videos normally 5 or so minutes shorter than this one. But for now, that is all. Have a nice day, and goodbye.
Go on.